Hello, good afternoon here. PhD Fernando Coach here, and I'm just here to invite an amazing and outstanding light worker, and I'm going to interview her. Her name is Marie Ferguson. She lives in Australia, and she's going to share with us a little bit about her amazing wisdom, including experiences about our awakening process. So let me. Oh, there you are, Mary. I will add you now. Let's see. Wants to join. I'm adding you now. Hey, Mary. How are you
Hi,
there?
hi, I'm good, Fernando. How are you?
Wonderful. Nice to see you here. It's my pleasure to
Yay.
interview you.
I'm really excited to be here. It's very early where I am, but it's the sun's rising, so it's beautiful. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here, for being with us in our Healers Network. And I'm very excited that not only for the people who are showing up now, but also for those who are watching the replay. And the first time I saw you in your photos and in your videos, I said to myself, oh, this being is really outstanding. And I really felt at the first, just at the first look. So I appreciate your
Mm.
time, your energy, your wisdom. So would you like to share with us here who is Mary Ferguson and what her journey is about
Mm.
and her mission is about?
Beautiful. Wow, that's a really beautiful big question. I am many things. It's interesting in society, when we introduce ourselves, a lot of the time people tell us about their jobs, what they do. And I'm a multifaceted being and multidimensional. And I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister. I'm a light worker. I'm an earth angel. I'm a visionary. I am a thought leader. And in my human experience, most of my career has been in education. And I've been working with teenagers for I've been teaching for 20 years since I was in high school. And so, about 16 years, I myself have been in the education system. And I
Yeah.
love working with young people, like, kids to teenagers, because I think these foundational years are so, so important in the development of healthy human beings. And in the last couple of years, I have been moving into feminine embodiment coaching and breath work facilitating, and using all the skills that I've developed in my teaching career to integrate them into, as a teacher, most teachers are healers. Some of them don't even know it. And through the arts, through dance, through drama, through visual art, through embodied practice, that's where I see magic working in young people's lives. That's where I see this connection to story, to heart, to creativity in our future. And I'm really passionate about cultivating places where young people feel like they can start to find themselves and feel those connections to mentors and adults that get them, because sometimes it's hard. It's really hard. And I hope to bring that into more community work, into the work I do with my clients, and just
Mhm.
really shift and change the world, basically. Mm.
Wonderful. That's quite beautiful what you told us. And I've been thinking about the following, Mary, because uh, we understand in the place where we are already right now. And many people would like to would like to live a life uh, free of stress, free of anxiety, free of depression. So my question for you who have helped so many people so far is, what's the importance of a spiritual awakening process in our day-to-day
Mm.
life? How it can help us?
I think just really being present in the moment, because now is everything. And in a busy society where we're always thinking of what to do next, or we're either living in the past or living in the present, in the future, and not in the present moment. So if something has happened, sometimes we just keep thinking and thinking, like, oh, I could have made that better, or this happened here, or thinking about the future. And just really being present, particularly when you're stressed or things are happening in your life, and it doesn't matter what age you are, just being really here in the now. And I find that coming back to the breath and just taking that deep breath in and just letting that exhale out longer to just calm your body in those moments, to calm your mind. And that brings you back to the present, brings you back to clarity. And I even, tell that to my daughter, who is almost 7. She's always on the go, and it's like, I mean, kids, they're always in the now. They always like want to do things now, right? And they just want to be with you. And I think they remind us of being really, really present with them. So yeah, everything is now. There's no point worrying about the future or the past, because we start telling ourselves these stories. And when we forget about our bodies now, and we forget about the people in front of us now, then we forget connecting with them, with the heart. And you know, when I really truly embedded that every single day, I noticed my own relationship shifting, my classrooms changing, the work I do with my clients, just really being present. And the breath really helps.
Yes, yes, yes. You know that it reminds me of some of a new technology. Actually, it uses our natural technology, right? Which is called heart rate coherence.
Mm-hmm.
Our state of peace is highly dependent on how we breathe.
Mm.
And we can breathe at certain rhythms, and there is one specific rhythm, and it's unique for each person. There is one rhythm that maximizes that state of peace.
Mm.
So usually it is about inhaling for 5 seconds, exhaling for 5 seconds, more or less that, but each one has its own unique
Yes.
time. And that is when we breathe at that cycle, at that rhythm, it means that our state of peace is the highest possible.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
And there's a technique in which people are trained to breathe at certain rhythms until they find it is said, their heart rate coherence, or their resonance frequency, because
Mm.
at that frequency of breathing, it is when the state of peace is
Mm.
maximum. So, and there are no secondary effects. There are no like people are taking pills for antidepressants or for anxiety or for stress. This breathing mechanism has no secondary effects. So
Mm.
what you're sharing with us is so, so, so important. I'm really grateful for you showing this.
Oh, thank you. It's so simple too. Like breathing is there are a few mechanisms in our body that we can actively control. And the breath is one of them. Like it's something that we just do naturally. But then when we find ourselves feeling the stress and our heart's going fast, or we're worried about things, that's the one thing that we can all control to start to regulate. And like you were saying, that coherence. And in schools, in other strategies, we call it box breathing, where you're breathing in for that consistent count and out. Because what happens in the body is when we're bringing in that oxygen and then we're exhaling, it's allowing that to flow throughout our body and to calm our parasympathetic, which then puts us into that rest and digest state, to bring that peace and to bring that harmony and to bring that calmness. And so the parasympathetic nerve is a vagus nerve that we've got running from behind our ears, that goes all the way through our bodies and touches every single organ. And so, when we can find ways to help calm our hearts and calm our minds and relax our nervous system, that brings that peace and brings that calm, because we experience the world through our nervous system, through our eyes, through our nose, through our mouths, through our touch, through our senses. And in such a busy society, a lot of our nervous system is really in overdrive most of the time. We're absorbing so much data through our eyes. I think I read that we take so much in, but our brains can only handle like a certain amount. So when we can come back to the breath, then we can start tapping back into our prefrontal cortex, the logic brain, and not go into the fight, flight, or freeze, which is tapped into the amygdala in the reptilian part of our brain. So when we get anxious and we're like, okay, what's going on here? And I'm stressing about this, or I'm worried about this. We're living in the past or the future. So when we come back to the breath and calm ourselves down, we can be in the present and then train our brains to come back to calm and back to the logic where we can make clear decisions. We can talk to people with more clarity. And this is all like emotional intelligence. And I loved how you were bringing the breath back to the heart, because when we see these connections that are so simple, it can change so much in our lives when we can be in the present, be with the breath, bring our thinking brain to our heart brain, because our brain, I love our parts, everything's connected, but we have a heart brain as well. So when we find ourselves thinking too much with the ego, it's like when you take that breath and bring that down to your heart, that's where soul comes in. That's where you can connect to more greater things and connect to clarity, and know that that's your decision and not society's or other pressures or other people.
That's very significant what you're sharing. And would you like to share some story of people that you know that you trained who have been facing an awakening process and made progress through that?
Yes. I'm just my beautiful clients, when I've done a lot of deep, sometimes it doesn't have to be deep, because when we come back into slowing down our breath and being in the moment and allow ourselves to connect with our hearts, we can also tap into our subconscious. And so with a lot of the work that I do with my beautiful clients, who are mostly mums, I do work with men as well, and we allow ourselves to just connect and center, we can then go back into past experiences and past triggers, I suppose, that stem from childhood, and we can do a lot of inner child work through the breath and through meditation and visualization and music. And I do a lot of guided work to help people release some of those tensions and notice those triggers and awareness moments. And a lot of the time what I've seen people do is it comes a lot from the heart, because most of the time the trauma is sitting just here on the surface. And so most of the time I see these heart awakening moments from people that need to be released through the body, through the senses, either through crying, releasing it through, anger. Anger is a secondary response to anything. So when people come up with anger or snap or get frustrated, when you look deeper, that's just a secondary emotion. Underneath anger is either a deep fear or a deep sadness and grief that hasn't been dealt with, and then reacts as anger or fear or frustration. So when I've worked with people, a lot of the time I've seen a lot of realizations come through, and a lot of heart. I feel a lot of heart cracking open a little bit more, because even with my own journey, that was probably one of the first awakening experiences that I did. It was probably over a decade ago, where I sat in meditation and I was working on myself and trying to understand. And I remember spending a couple of months doing a certain type of meditation with color and with codes and visualizations and speaking to myself and speaking to my soul and bringing in the light in different colors. I remember one time I was deep in meditation and deep in my subconscious, and I felt this, so almost this pain just like piercing through my heart. It was like this crack. It was like this crack of love piercing through, and the love that came through, I just cried and sobbed so much, and I felt so loved and felt so held, and I was like, why does my heart hurt so much? And it was like this pierce, but it was like a love pain. Like it was almost like this release. And like the feel, like I had to physically feel it in my physiology, and like, you know, the vibrations, the energy coming through. And that was the first experience that kind of cracked to the next level. And I know for me, another time when I was experiencing some tough times in relationships and family, I had a little 2-year-old going into motherhood, and there were just some moments where I was like, is this what life is meant to be like? Is this relationship going to end? You know, it was really hard. And I remember thinking to my heart, to myself, going, I choose unconditional love. And when I chose that for myself, for others, for my family, I just felt this expand. It was like this, like this, my heart felt like it was growing outside my body, and I felt this energy exuding out. And I had to feel it was different from the first time for me. And other time, like it feels different for people in different ways. And I know, like I remember talking to my husband, he was meditating and just sitting with himself, and he felt it was his kundalini rising, and he was just with himself, and he felt this buzzing of energy from the base of his spine up. And I hadn't experienced that. I was like, something's shifting within you. And it's different for everybody. And I know a lot of my clients at the moment, a lot of the times it's this heart, you got to crack the heart. Like we think our hearts are broken, and we're experiencing these traumas and these triggers and things that happen to us to challenge us and push us in our lives. But what is happening is when that crack is happening, the light is coming through. And so when we feel it, the light is letting out, and that's the inner child. That's the connection to purity. That's the connection to source, God, universe. And we have to feel it. It's painful, but I can tell you on the other side, it's all for us. It's all for us to experience. And being human this lifetime, it's the quickest way for us to learn is through pain, you know, for us to learn the lessons. And when we let that light push through and break all the cracks and crumble away, the light from your heart, there's so much in every single person. So let the walls crack, let it crack, and feel whatever it is. Because when we push down, and we don't allow ourselves to feel the anger, feel the sadness, feel the grief, the joy, full on joy, like we need to feel it, so then it heals. So anyway.
That's very beautiful, and I just honor what you told us with my silence, because it could, the energy that you brought us through this the story is very, very beautiful. And it reminds me of the following, right? Just to make a short analogy. When I went yesterday to the gym, I just went back to the gym and started working out, although I confess I don't like to be on a closed space like this, working out. And then, hi Anjana, how are you? I say to myself, well, I will dedicate this time to myself. I will dedicate to my self-care. I will increase my personal, my physical power going to the gym. So I challenged myself. I pushed myself to go to the gym. And when I started to work out, it was, this is the third week. And when I went yesterday, I spontaneously closed my eyes when I was working out, and I was feeling the energy in my body already being expanding. And I allowed myself to feel the benefit and to feel the expansion of my physical power through working out. It's not like, oh, I'm doing 1, 2, 3. No, it's not like that, because it's quite monotonous, right? And it's quite boring. I just get tired of that, and then I abandon. So I tried a different way. I allowed myself to feel the muscles in action, and it happens something similar in our muscles. It creates little cracks in our muscles. Let's say little cracks in our muscles. So it is starting to grow. It starts to grow. So it happens something similar with our heart, as you told us. When you start to feel the cracks, it expands, right? So it's a very good analogy, and I just wanted to share with you this. And just to follow this conversation, what would you say is the most typical, or are the most typical symptoms of a person who really wants to go or has to go through an awakening process?
Oh, the symptoms. Deeply facing yourself. I think when people have to face the shadows of ourselves, and that may have come up from past traumas, I think what everybody I've experienced that I've worked with, when we face the past and think that you can't heal that, then that's probably the most difficult challenge, and that's the mindset and the stories that have been ingrained in us growing up. So most of the times, like, when we're children, teenagers, we all go through experiences. And so when people are stepping into this awakening process, sometimes it's forced upon us. Like, it's right now, everything is speeding up in the cosmos and the energy. It's like, if you are waking up, you're going to wake up now, and challenges will come your way. And how you face those challenges based on how you stay present in your body, and knowing how you can handle your emotions in that moment to stay calm, or to notice the emotions and feel it, so then you can make the next decision clearly. I think that's a challenge for people when we allow ourselves to get stuck in the past. So when we can learn to integrate those stories, and you can do this many different ways. You can do meditation, you can go see a hypnotherapist, you can do it yourself as well. But what I love doing with my clients, and what I've done with myself, is when I take them through the breath and you create that relaxation state, it's like giving the permission to go back to that little child, that little boy, that little girl, where they first experienced those feelings of either being alone or unworthy or abandoned or not good enough. Because these emotions of not feeling good enough, not being worthy, not being seen as a child, that has integrated into us now. So when we can go back to heal the inner child, what we're doing is we're actually quantum shifting, and you're reframing the story and integrating loving yourself as a little child back into your heart, where we now, the adult now that knows better, can choose to hug and to bring your little girl and your little boy in, which is you, back to yourself, and show that love. We have to be our own mothers and fathers to ourselves to heal our inner child, because we've got family and people that, come into our lives that test us. But when we can allow ourselves the permission to be vulnerable, to come back into our memories, or the feeling, the original source of that feeling, that's when we can start to address those triggers now. And what I've noticed with my clients is, like, it hasn't taken very long. It has only taken like a couple of sessions, and that integration has then shifted their present now and shifted their
Yeah.
mindset and that story. So yeah.
Oh, that's very significant. I appreciate your sharing this. Um, Do you mind if I invite other people who are showing up here to ask other questions? If
Yeah,
that's fine with you?
that's fine. I'm just
Okay. I
moving, but
added
I'm
I
listening
added
in.
here Anjana. I don't know if Anjana is already willing to. Oh, couldn't add guest. Okay, let's add Maria. Maybe she wants to ask some questions. Hey Maria, how are you there? Let's see if she's joining us
Hello.
now. Okay, let's see if she's already joining. It says adding. So let's.
Hello.
Hello Maria, how are you there?
I'm good, good. I just wanted to pop in and listen in and see what you guys were talking about and say hello.
Hi, Maria.
I yeah, I was drawn to your energy. It's
Oh,
very, very soothing. Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Just wanted to show gratitude more than anything. I don't have questions at the moment, but maybe later on. I'm just listening now, learning.
Oh,
So
beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, I think Maria will be one of our next guest speakers because she has an outstanding gift of light language and all these beautiful things.
Mm,
And I would really love to interview her. So, Maria, if you
mm.
have any short comment just before closing this live, that's feel free to do that. Okay?
okay, thank you. Yeah, Fernando likes to push me to get out of my comfort zone.
Oh,
So just,
yes. Oh, I love that you're stepping outside of yourself. And I think, when Fernando, you were talking about this stretch in the muscles and I was talking about the cracks in the heart, when we step outside our comfort zone, just that little bit, like what Maria is doing now, and we continue to just stretch and stretch to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, that's where the growth happens. And so when we challenge ourselves to do something new, you're forming, the synapses in your brain are wiring and firing the left and right, are working so hard to like reconnect. And when we challenge ourselves to take the risks, to be courageous, and to speak on platforms like this, to share our wisdom and share story from a heart-centered place, that's where the growth comes. So keep stretching yourself and keep connecting to people, because people that are drawn to you will hear the stories and they'll feel it from the heart. So when we allow ourselves to be courageous and to do things that we feel really scared about, then that's where the growth happens quantumly, and it shifts so much within us. So yeah, I love
absolutely.
that.
Well, Fernando, I think you have your closing words there. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Maria. You're welcome. Wonderful. Marie, do you have any final message for those people who are asking themselves if they truly would like to start a spiritual journey, or are not having still the courage enough to face those inner fears or their anxieties or sadness? What's your final message for those people who are still struggling and want to find a solution?
I think what comes up for me is just to allow yourself to be present and give yourself the time. Sometimes we need to sit with our hearts and sit with the breath, like go out into nature. Nature is the best healer of all. And like go and sit by a creek or by a tree, or go for a walk. You mentioned working out before. I find when I dance, that's meditative for me. When people work out or do something, that's meditation through the body. Get your body moving and allow the blood to flow, and just sit with yourself and take those deep breaths in, and just sit and ask yourself, like, what do I want? What do I want to do? What lights me up? And when you find the things that you're passionate about, then find ways to do that, either for fun to start with, or if you're like, I need to change my job or I need to do this, come from a place of what is something that gives me joy and gives me pleasure and that makes me happy. And if it's hard to find now, think back to when you were a kid. Like, what made you happy when you were a child? Was it drawing? Was it going and playing? Was it, you know, playing board games or reading a book? And go and do something small for yourself first, to give yourself joy and to give yourself that pleasure. Because when we start reconnecting back into those moments and that feeling of contentment and feel like, I really love this, then we can come to that heart again and go, well, what else do I love? What else do I love doing? How do I want to connect with people? How do I want to, change my world first? Because your world is so important. Your inner world, your inner universe, your mind, your body, your spirit. Come back to yourself first and don't worry about anybody else, and allow yourself time to sit and figure that out. And there's no rush. Everyone has their own time, and then things will start to unfold. Just staying present with your body, with your mind, with your breath.
That's so beautiful. I appreciate your message. It's so heartfelt, and I want also to express my gratitude here. So for anyone who wants to reach out, what do they have to do, Marie?
You can come and find me on Facebook or send me a messenger hello. And if there are any beautiful mums out there that have loved hearing any of this and want to chat with me, just send me a message and we can talk a little bit more. And I think when we harmonize ourselves and come back to knowing who we are first and foremost and being devoted to self and harmonizing the energy in our own bodies, then that will ripple it out to your relationships, to your jobs or career or your purpose, to your children. And that changes everything. So if anyone wants to chat with me, find me on Facebook or Insta, say hello, and I'd love to chat with you.
Wonderful. I appreciate very much your presence, Mary, here with us. And I would say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your light, your love, your beautiful energy. And if anyone else has a question, type here in the comments below or below in the comments of this video that I will upload in my Facebook and YouTube channel. And of course in Mary's channels, if she has us also as well. So then I will share the video with you, Mary. Okay? Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a blessed week, you all. Okay? Blessings from Brazil. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.